Hello everyone. In today's lecture, I'm going to explain following topics. First one is evolutionary software process models. Second one is spiral model, which comes under the evolutionary software process model. Then third one, that is again prototyping model, which is the evolutionary software process model. Let us start with the evolutionary software process model. Basically, the evolutionary software process model that couples the iterative feature of prototyping with the controlled and systematic aspect of the linear sequential model. There is a lot of improvements done in the process of software development over a period of time. Today, due to the new technologies, business rules, product requirements, software development process is also improved. When development process proceeds, product requirements often changes. Tight market deadlines make completion of a comprehensive software product impossible, due to which limited versions of software product must be introduced to meet competitive or the business pressure. This product is called the core product, which is designed when system requirements are well understood, but the details of the product or system extensions have yet to be defined. In such a situations, software engineers need a process model that has that has been explicitly designed to accommodate a product that evolve over time. Obviously, there is a lot of improvements required in the product. Hence, evolutionary models are iterative in nature. They are categorized in a manner that enable software engineers to develop increasingly more complete versions of the software. It is useful for the projects using a new technology and also used for the complex projects. Basically, evolutionary software process models categorized into two different types. First one is spiral model and second one is prototyping model. Now, here are two applications of evolutionary models. First one is it is used in large projects, means for the complex project or the large project we can use evolutionary models. And the second one, that is it is used in object oriented software development. Let's have a look at the advantages of evolutionary model. So the first advantage, that is user gets a chance to experiment partially developed systems. That is not possible in the linear model, but it's possible in the evolutionary model. Then the second advantage, that is it reduces the error. Then the disadvantages of evolutionary models are: first one is sometimes it is hard to divide the problem into several versions that would be acceptable to the customer, which can be incrementally implemented. Now let us discuss first model, that is spiral model, which is the evolutionary process model. The spiral model, originally proposed by Barry Boehm, is an evolutionary software process model that couples the iterative nature of prototyping with the controlled and systematic aspect of the waterfall model. It provides the potential for rapid development of increasingly more complex versions of the software. When development of a project starts, it may be possible that work may be stopped due to any reason. Whatever hurdles are there in future work, means whatever risk we face in future must be studied initially, and steps must be taken to solve such problems. At least the development team must know in advance that if we follow this path, out of various paths, there is a possibility of these problems. If problems are unresolvable, then different path or the way is selected initially. Because of this, work will not be stopped in the middle, and unnecessary work or the efforts and unnecessary cost will be saved. The spiral model is useful in such situations which guides the risk in project. Risks are concerned with future. The spiral model is useful for identifying and eliminating high risk problems by careful process design. The model represented by the spiral means cycle contains four stages and each stage is represented by one quadrant of Cartesian diagram. You can see this diagram of spiral model. The radius of spiral represents the cost incurred so far in the process. Now let us see four phases of spiral model. First one is the objectives determination and identify alternative solutions. In this phase, each cycle in the spiral starts with the identification of purpose for the cycle, the various alternatives that are possible for achieving the targets and the constraints that exist, identifies the objectives, alternatives and constraints of the portion of the product under consideration. Then the second phase is identify and resolve the risk. Then in that phase, it is to calculate these various alternatives based on the goals and constraints. The focus of the evaluation in this stage is located on the risk perception for the project. The alternatives are evaluated and potential risk areas are identified and efforts are made to resolve the risk. Then the third phase, that is develop next version of the product, means the engineering phase. So in this phase, the development and verification of the next level product is done using the activities like prototyping, then simulation. In this phase, the different strategies that resolve uncertainties and risk. So this process may include activities like benchmarking and simulation, etc. Then the last phase, that is the review and plan for the next phase. Finally, in this phase, we planned, the project is reviewed and a choice made whether to continue with a further period of a spiral. If it is determined to keep, then plans are drawn up for the next step of the project. The development phase depends on the remaining risk. For example, if the performance or the user interface risk are treated more essential than the program development risk, the next phase may be an evolutionary development that includes developing a more detailed prototype for solving the risk. So the customer evaluates the engineering work and makes suggestion for the modifications. The risk-driven features of spiral model allows it to accommodate any mixture of a specification oriented, prototype oriented, simulation oriented or another type of approach. An essential element of the model is that each period of spiral is completed by review that includes all the products developed during that cycle, including plans for the next cycle. The spiral model works for development as well as an enhancement projects. So the risk involves two categories. So first one is the uncertainty. The risk may or may not happen. There are no 100% probable risk. And the second characteristics of risk, that is the loss. If a risk becomes a reality, unwanted consequences or the losses will occur. Let's have a look at the advantages of spiral model. So the first advantage of spiral model is it accommodates life cycle evaluation, growth and requirement changes. Then the second advantage is risk management. Continuous or repeated development helps in the risk management. Then the third advantage is early error detection and design flaws are possible in spiral model. Then the development is fast and features are added in a systematic way. Then the software is produced early in software life cycle. Then this model is suitable for high risk projects where business needs may be now the disadvantages of spiral model. So this model basically not suitable for low risk projects. Also this model is costly model as compared to other models. Spiral model may go on indefinitely. Management is more complex in spiral model because we have to find the risk, also we have to find the solution for that risk and mitigate that risk. So it's somewhat complex process. Excessive documentation required in the spiral model. It's very important to know when to use spiral model. So the first is where the cost and risk evaluation is important, then you have to go for the spiral model. Then whenever the project is of type medium to high risk, that time we should prefer spiral model. Then also for the long term projects commitment you can follow spiral model. When unsure of their needs at that time also you have to follow spiral model. Then whenever the requirements are not simple, means the requirements are complex, then you have to go for the spiral model. When there is any new product line, then you should follow spiral model. Then whenever some significant changes are expected, that time we can use. Then the next evolutionary process model is prototyping model. Before moving to its structure, we must know what is exactly prototype. It's a one kind of working model. So basically its approach is again evolutionary and iterative. This model provide working model to the user early in the progress. It's a very important feature which is provided by this prototyping model. During the development process, customer defines a set of general objectives for software but does not identify detailed input, processing or output requirements. Similarly, the developer may be unsure of efficiency of an algorithm, the adaptability of an operating system or the form that human machine interaction should take. In such situations, a prototyping paradigm may offer the best approach. Prototyping is more commonly used technique and can be used as a standalone process model. The prototyping paradigm begins with communication. The software engineering in the software engineering, what happened? The software engineer and customer meet to define the overall objectives for the software, identify when whatever requirements are known and outline areas where further definition is mandatory. A prototyping iteration is planned quickly and modeling occurs. That's why they are also referred to as the quick design. The quick design focuses on the representation of those aspects of the software that will be visible to the customer or the end users. The quick design leads to the construction of prototype. Prototyping is a process that enables the developer to create a working model for an information system application. Prototype gives just the idea about the system, and it does not contain all features or perform all necessary functions of the final system. Customer or the user evaluates the prototype and then suggests what is to be added or modified. Prototyping is an iterative process as it is received to satisfy the need of the customer. A prototype does not require lot of cost to build. It can be prepared using paper and pencil or computer software like the screen generators, report generators, and application generators. Various steps are carried out in prototyping model. So the steps like requirements gathering and refinement, then develop working model, then customer evaluation of prototype, review prototype, then repeat as needed, etc. Now let us see the steps involved in the prototyping. Prototyping is a process that enables the developer to create a working model of an information system application. Prototype gives us the idea about the system, and it does not contain all features or perform all the necessary functions of the final system. Customer or user evaluates the prototype and they suggest what is to be added or modified. Prototyping is an iterative process as it is revised to satisfy the needs of the customer. A prototype doesn't require lot of cost to build. It can be prepared using paper and pencil or computer software like screen generator, report generators, and the application generators. So the steps involved in the prototyping as follows. First one is the requirement gathering and refinement. In this step, both the developers, means system analyst, and customer, that is the user, work together and define overall objectives for the software. Identify whether requirements must be fulfilled. So this is very important phase, because if you gather requirement properly, then you can develop your project in successful way. Then the second one, that is develop working model. In this phase, the developer and user jointly identify the data that are needed in the system and specify the output that the application must produce. Analyst estimates a prototyping cost and gives idea to management about the expenditure that will be incurred. A prototype is constructed using several tools. Prototypes are prepared to represent input screen formats and output formats. So this developing working model, it's a one kind of real view that user can get. Then the third one, that is very important, customer evaluation of prototype. User works on prototype to evaluate its features and operations. Then the next phase, that is review prototype. The prototype is reviewed after getting information from users about what they liked and disliked. Developers should be understand the need of customer properly for working modification in the prototypes. And the last phase, that is repeat as needed. The process is repeated till both the users and developers find that all necessary features are fulfilled. and there is no benefit in further repeating the steps. So all these are the steps of prototyping. Now it's very important to know what are the different tools used for the prototyping model. So the first tool, that is the screen generators. This tool automatically input validation screens are prepared. It is useful to show the location of data entry fields, data display fields, column headings, labels, messages, colors, fonts, various attributes, okay, etc. Then the second tool, that is the report generators. It's very important that what are the different reports that is produced from your system. So some records are extracted from the existing database and show the appearance of the output. So this is the second tool. Then the third one, that is the application generators. There are software programs that permit the specification of an entire application at a very high level. They provide the capability to develop applications that accept input, validate data, perform calculations, then interact with files and produce outputs. So all these are the tools used in the prototyping model. Let us discuss few advantages of prototyping model. So the first advantage is place functioning. Then the second one is increase in users interest and understanding project. So that is the main advantage of prototyping model, because according to the users we are going to create the design and the architecture of the project, because we have to show that working model to the user. Then the user satisfaction, that is very important, that can be achieved using this model. Then the information requirements do not have to be completed in this model. Now the disadvantages of prototyping model. This model leads to implementing and then repairing way of building systems. Then also prototyping model increase the complexity. Also this model incomplete application may cause application not to be used. So this model can be preferred at that time. Now it's very important to know when to use prototype model. When the system needs to have a lot of interaction with the end users, that time we can prefer prototype model. Also, for the online systems, web interfaces have a very high amount of interaction with the end users, are best suited for the prototype model. When we ensures that the end users constantly work with the system and provide a feedback, at that time we should prefer prototype model, or we can use prototype model. Thank you.